Hey everybody, how's it? Aloha, this is Geebz, your old composer here at the Decomposer Lounge, peeling back the layers, dissecting your favorite suggested tracks. Very first time on the channel. Love when this happens. I sometimes after 500 some odd videos, I go, could I have? No, barely scratched the surface, as I am being told by you guys. This is Whitechapel from Metal Blade Records. And like I said, I'm doing just a little bit of research, you know, finally, just to kind of like get my understanding of the band here. So apparently they started around 2006. I think they're still with the same original band members. And from what I see here, death metal, progressive metal, groove metal. So yeah, this is going to be some bangers. And I know that Metal Blade Records, in the very few songs that I have done of the record company, is responsible for some of the most powerful metalcore, metal, thus Metal Blade Records, that I've ever heard. So anyhow, so while I set up for this, I, like usual, want to thank you guys so much for your support. Remember, if you see any ads on this is copyright claim for the record company. The artists, though, they do deserve to make the money. It doesn't help me here on the channel. So if you'd like to buy me a cup of coffee, Super Cool Beans. As a matter of fact, I should white label a brand called Super Cool Beans, and you can just buy my bag of coffee. No, that probably wouldn't work. Link is below for the cup of coffee, or if you want to check out the headsets, these are AKG 240. The links will be down below. All right, let's do this. This is Whitechapel, and the name of the song is Anticure. All right. right, so I'm sorry that I'm more than, 3.5 minutes into this before I'm pulling my first stop. And that's only because there's so many textures in how they got us to this point where you saw me kind of respond to where he finally gets into the power growl. First of all, I think I misspoke. Did I say metalcore? It said death metal. I don't know. I flipped that around somewhere in my brain because that's what I do at this age. Shit just gets flipped around. I love how they started off with this like less than heavily distorted sounds of how they were layering in their opening guitar, kind of lulling us into a false sense of security. I've never heard the band. I don't know what their discography is like, and if this is more one of their mellower songs or this is just maybe the single that the record company pulled out because it's very melodic. It's got a great powerful hook. You know, I think I'm right in the middle of it, so I think I stopped right in the middle of that. But I loved it. There was these guitar, the opening, where they're using these different voicings and then rhythmically kind of keeping us kind of in a checks and balance here that's kind of slowly gliding us in. And like I said, it's not like an overdriven sound. It's just kind of like a gained up kind of let's leave the power to the heads of the amps instead of, maybe kicking in, some gain or something, post or on pedals and stuff. Just sounds like it. I don't have that much knowledge. But it was clean enough so that I could really hear and feel them playing their parts. Sometimes if it gets overdriven and saturated. Plus, by doing that, this build that they produced, and arranged and composed to get it to the point where he goes into the full power growl, that was an intricate part of it. That first 40 seconds of the guitar just kind of like I said, lulling you into this false sense of security. Now, eventually I knew the drums were going to come in. But even then, I was still kind of like, okay, are we going to get into any bit of the punch? And when I got into, I'm looking at the time and go, wow, it's 1.5 minutes, almost 2 minutes. The arrangement's starting to punch up. Now we did get the power of the guitars starting to come through, but the vocalist was still kind of in this kind of subdued, kind of anxiety, subdued kind of tone in his voice. The tone of the drums is fantastic. I love nowadays with new production, it's almost like everything gets a mic, so the engineers can be ultra detailed about panning things and stuff, but the separation in the drums is great with the cymbals and the hi-hat and stuff, nice and crispy and punchy. The kick is really kicking through, but it's not so bottom end boomy. So there's something, that's what I like about what I'm hearing, because the bottom end and the boom is being represented by the bass and some of the tone of the guitar. Now, obviously, when he gets into this vocal and he powers up, then we get into, I think, what is the core of what Whitechapel is about, be it death metal in this sound. And once again, because this is my first listen, I don't know what the rest of their discography is. But I love the fact that they got us into a real powerful hook, and that was, to me, the glory of the build right there. And they just kicked us into it. And it's very ambient the way they did that too. So a lot of the guitar playing that's at the beginning in the verses are these long held out chords. It's not chuggy, it's not forcefully, trying to get you to over bob your head. It's just getting you to just kind of go woo, and it just kind of sinks you into it. All right, well, I'm going to shut up for the rest of the song because I'm close to the end. So let me just go back a little bit. I'm going to take it back to what might be the beginning of the hook. I love how they closed the same way they opened it, with that kind of energy that I was talking about when it came to the more cleaner, if there's such a thing, more of a cleaner, distorted sound. I'm not really good on how guitar players get these really super intense, you know, and then come to find out that I learned stuff about gent, but then it's not overdriven. I don't know. It's complex for me. I'm too old to get that under my thumb. But that section where it broke down, where his voice seemed like it was in a megaphone and stuff like that, we've heard a lot of that on this channel. That's a really super cool maneuver that obviously in the planning somewhere they're going to say, this section we're going to change the whole vibe. What I liked is they went back into those softer, cleaner guitars, less distorted guitars, and you know, like I said, they have these call answer arrangements that are happening here. So that's happening here, but then there's something else happening here that's more, or that's actually less complex than that. And because of the way it's panned left and right and stuff like that, it really does something else to the dynamics and the depth and the ambience of the performance. Not ethereal, but the ambience, meaning like the spaciness of it. And so just as that section where, you know, he's in that canned voice and stuff like that, probably about a minute ago, what I loved is how even as he starts to fade, all the guitars and the bass were out except this lonely kind of sound here, and it brings you down into this place where they go ahead and they just gut punch you again with the power of everything that's going on with the chords and so on and so forth. And something else I want to mention too is the harmonies that were done on his voice. At the very beginning, it seemed like it was an octave lower, or it was hard for me to make out because I was trying to figure out, I was listening, is that an octave? Is that a fifth below? But then he gets really low. So that's another thing I love about this performance, is he came down from this very dark or heavy soulful spot in his voice where he's really down into here like this, so that by the time he blows up into his hook, he's really transitioned a couple of octaves and stuff, and he's raised, you know, he's leveled up with the power of the band and the production and stuff. This was a great track. I'm going to listen to this again once I render this out. You know, there's always a few things where I go, I wish I would have said something about that. If I hear something on my render out, check the notes below in the comments and stuff, and I might say, oh man, listen to this, you know, blah, 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 blah. Anyhow, thank you guys for hanging out. New week. Great way to start it with a brand new band here on my channel for Metal Blade Records. This is Whitechapel. This was Anticure. And this was Caffeine Cure. So remember, if you see ads on this, it's for the record companies and the artists. You want to support me, buy me a cup of coffee. That'd be super cool beans. All the links for everything and this video is going to be down below. Thanks for hanging out. Aloha. All right.